Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are in the world. You have found your way tonight to twitch.tv/speedgaming, where we are bringing you a Link to the Past Randomizer tournament, round of 16, game 3 between WeightyWords and BigDunka. This is a round of 16 match. Winner moves on to the round of 8. Loser is out of the tournament. Calling this match tonight for you, I am Reg. I am joined by Days Cloud. So, Days Cloud, why don't you tell us what we're going to be seeing from these runners tonight?
Oh, Reg, today we're looking at a 6-6 seed here. These two guys have really been through the ringer so far today to get where they are here. Game 1 came down to boots and left side swamp, and game 2 we had all sorts of ice rod shenanigans there. I probably thinking that both of these runners are hoping to have something a little bit cleaner here, because their first 2 matches went fairly long for runners of this caliber. We should be getting underway in just a minute here. Anything special we're hoping to see today?
Well, I think you said it pretty well. I personally didn't get to see game 1, but I saw a lot of interesting routing in game 2. I would like to see something clean and straightforward for these runners, something that will let the better runner win convincingly, I think. Which I think it's hard to pick the better runner out of these two. They are both fantastic, but let the better runner win the race and move on.
And we're immediately starting with a little bit of divergence as WeightyWords picks up the red boomerang out of Link's house there. Gets a quick map check with a pendant in the desert, it looked like.
Yeah, I saw a pendant in the desert. I saw a red crystal at Hera. I saw a regular crystal at Eastern Palace. And yeah, WeightyWords taking that red boomerang, going to check Uncle with it, which is a fairly standard start. Gets an extra shot at the triple, which turns into bombs. Dunka's not missing those, though.
Right. Dunka's using the triple up towards the lumberjack hut there and picks up the same amount of bombs. Our bush crab today is spitting out red rupees, so money and bombs are not a problem early for these runners here. So this is going to that's a good start.
Yeah, that definitely love to see something like that. Makes all the Kakariko routing real easy. I didn't see WeightyWords check the stun price despite starting with that boomerang en route to the uncle, so that'll remain a mystery. But with the tree pole and the bush crab being what they are, not going to miss that too much.
No, not at all there. Both of these runners are going to be coming into Kakariko pretty well stacked up to get everything there, as we see a piece of heart there just on the mushroom spot, and BigDunka is choosing not to get that. Knowing that this is a game 3, I expect most of these runners to not go out of their way to pick up any sort of items.
Yeah, anywhere that you can get an edge and save a few seconds, you're going to want to do at this point. Notably, Dunka didn't grab a second tree pole off the Lost Woods there. WeightyWords walks right by the tree. I don't think he's killed anything since he saved and quit. So, yeah, he's going to come up here. He's going to check and kill the bush crab, and he'll get that on a tree pole for another 4 bombs if he wants to. This is a bit of an underrated thing I want to talk about with BigDunka checked the lumberjack, and he used that to get his tree pole and bush crab checks, and then had the option to come into the Lost Woods and did do that, so that he got 2 of each, or had the choice for 2 of each. Meanwhile, WeightyWords started with Uncle, did not check the lumberjack, but because he got that tree pole at Uncle, he did get that same 2 opportunities at tree poles. So, just a bit of interesting things there, because skipping lumberjack is a fairly common play these days.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like it's going to pay off too as well, because lumberjack only had those 10 arrows, which is going to make, it's one of those things that we don't have to go and kill Aga for. But BigDunka there in the back of thieves, at back of the blinds hut, he picked up a sword and a bottle just to make his Kakariko routing that much easier.
Yep, he picked up a sword. WeightyWords picked up a cape in the chest near the uncle. So you talk about not killing Aghanim, but we've got 2 of the 3 items we need to get there, and always the chance we'll have to kill Aghanim just to get to the Dark World.
Yeah, we'll have to find out for that one here, as the well came up very, very empty so far. Holy Kakariko's not paying off, unfortunately.
Nah, but you got a weapon. That makes your other checks, especially things like the mini Moldrum Cave, pretty easy because you're not going to be relying on bombs and risk running out at an inconvenient time. So there's another weapon, the Fire Rod.
A fire rod, that make things burn a little bit faster, and it kills pretty much everything in the game in one shot.
Yeah, I think the Fire Rod's a lot like the hook shot. Either it kills your target in a single hit, or it's just immune to it. Bosses are the exception, obviously, but I can't think of any normal mobs that take more than one hit from the Fire Rod.
Yeah, like the mini Helmasaurs occasionally will decide that they're not going to get hit by it, I think. But other than that, there's pretty much nothing else here. As, yeah, we've gone through Kakariko, and so far we've come up with a sword and a fire rod and a couple of bottles. It's not a whole lot of early progression here, so we're gonna have to play the fun open mode game of, okay, so I've now cleared Kakariko. Which one of the locations do I want to go to next?
Yeah, we do see Dunka. He's just taking that lack of progression in Kakariko as a sign. He's not even checking the race game. He's just going. But I think the South Shore will be the popular play next for both runners here because it's the most dense of what they've got left. And just 20 rupees on the race game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of agree with Dunka's choice there, and especially a lot of times, this is pure bias speaking here, but when Kakariko is completely empty like that, I always kind of feel like there's a good chance that there's going to be something on the race game, right? And work out most of the time, but looks like Dunka's going to move his way up here to the Uncle route, which is, I kind of thought that he might do this. This might be a little bit of scouting of Weighty's tendencies, knowing that Weighty tends to start with an Uncle start. You don't want to leave something up here and give your opponent the advantage.
Yeah, I think this is the general region that BigDunka left behind for a very long time yesterday, and his seed took a little longer than you would expect because of it, but I think the other part is he's got a weapon. He can just go clear it in addition to getting the Uncle checks, which if you're just starting Uncle, the chance that you'll actually get to clear the rest of Escape is pretty low. But hey, Weighty's making the exact same play. He's already in the castle.
Both of these guys are just following each other exactly. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think BigDunka might have just skipped the Uncle. Now, he didn't have anything, but wow.
That's interesting for sure. I don't know what would lead somebody to do that, but
hey, this is game 3. Nerves are a thing.
Yeah, it can be. I'm just thinking, if they pick standard mode, they wouldn't be allowed to skip the Uncle.
True. Yep. Again, for anybody who came in, a couple of minutes late here, we're running a 6-6 seed right now. So there's a chance that we might get to choose our dungeons, but a lot of 6-6 seeds, the game decides you're doing only these 6 dungeons and you're gonna like it. So we'll have to see exactly what sort of thing we're got at this time.
Yeah, things like Ice Rodding Ganon's Tower with Crystal Turtle Rock, not an especially uncommon sight in 6-6, unfortunately. But I am hoping to see something that lets the runners choose and diverge instead of being routed into a specific set of 6.
Definitely. I know with being 6-6, I'm more tempted in a lot of ways to go and do something like Sequence Break, Ice Palace, or something like that. Get in there early and go ahead and try to figure out everything from there. Oop, as BigDunka misses his fire rod shot, but gets the second one. As they're both setting up for a death warp.
Both doing a good job of remembering to drop their fairies. Dunka getting knocked sort of close to his, but no big deal. They both dropped it. Both hit and get the heals off it. And onto the Dark Cross.
WeightyWords is going to have maybe a little bit of an easier time since he didn't use the fire rod to kill that ball and chain guard. He's got 2 shots of magic down here, so that if he's having a little trouble locating that chest and dark cross, which is in logic with that fire rod, he can use the fire rod to light the torches there and be able to get through just a little bit easier.
Yep. And as of the most recent version of the randomizer, you actually can be expected to do that and get this chest in what would otherwise be the dark. However, it's worth noting a quirk in the logic right now. The back 3 chests in the sewers, going through the entirety of the dark sewers to get to those 3 chests with just the fire rod is currently not in logic. I've been told that will be addressed in a future version of the randomizer.
And gets it on his second attempt here, and it looks like Weighty's going to make his way all the way back, so he's going to break a little bit of logic here, but I kind of expect BigDunka to be doing the same, and it looks like, yes, he is right there. You have to trust those runners. Even though you can't see them, they are making their way to the back of the escape right now.
Yeah, and the most extreme thing they could find back here would be a glove, which would imply that the lamp is available. Weighty got the key rat real nice with that fire rod. Dunka doing the same with a sword spin there. So yeah, both runners in the same room. Weighty just slightly ahead, I believe. Yes. And we're in the back.
Oh, and there's a full magic drop there. I might go back for that if I'm Weighty. And yep, there he goes. BigDunka is going to open our chest, grabs a flute, just the map, and a heart container here. So that flute is a fantastic find for breaking this logic early.
Yeah, now I'm real curious whether that implies anything about the lamp or the first glove placement. Because we need one of those two for this to be in logic, even with the fire rod.
I'm kind of looking suspiciously at South Shore right now, thinking that if we find a glove down there, that's going to make complete and perfect sense.
Yeah. And I would expect activating this flute and then fluting to the dam at 0.7 to be the next play for both runners. Definitely. And again, if I've learned one thing watching these two play yesterday, what I expect and what they do does not line up very often.
It looks like both runners are kind of smartly here, holding their sword out to get rid of the lag frames, or not the lag frames, the cooldown for the calling the duck here. They're going to release this as soon as our little ducky friend bursts out of his shell, and going to be able to call the duck immediately.
I have no idea how new this tech is, but I only personally learned of its existence during this tournament, and I've only really noticed runners doing it this tournament. So definitely cool to see that getting picked up on by more guys is a thing to do, because it saves several seconds there.
Definitely, yeah. Activating your flute is a pretty slow process, actually, all in all. Now, we get a little bit of a divergence here, as it looks like WeightyWords picked up the cane there in the dam, and BigDunka is giving us Ice Rod Cave, which turns out to be just another heart container.
That cane's a pretty good find. We'll need it later. Okay, there's the glove. That puts the flute in logic. The glove is actually the first item we have found that logically advances us by more than one location. Because before this, the only in-logic item we'd found that opened anything was the fire rod, and that was just the Dark Cross. So the glove's the first major progression this seed.
And Weighty taking a little bit of extra time there, because if you've got the glove, one of the things that's opened up to you is Zora. And since you've got that bush crab spitting out those big 20s, it's a good place to do a little bit of farming, so that if you want here, when you flute down to 8, you can also fake flipper up to Zora, save yourself, orphaning that one check. That mini Moldorm is not playing nice.
Nope, just trying to hide in the corner. Got away from Weighty's bomb at first, making him walk all the way up. That's a little slow. And it's not looking like much of value in the mini Moldorm cave. Well, there's a lamp, so now we've got double logic access to that flute.
Right, and we've got double logic to the access to that flute. We've got the top of of Death Mountain, but not able to go any further than the first 2 checks. But more importantly, that is the final piece of the Aghanim puzzle. So this seed is really starting to suggest that's where our Dark World access is going to be.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong suggestion at this point, with it being available and we still being 2 items from being able to get to the Dark World any other way. Though I would be surprised to see either runner chase that option before we found the Moon Pearl, or if they've exhausted everything else and determined that the Moon Pearl has to be on or behind the pyramid.
And Dunka's going to make sure he goes over to Agana here in the desert. The old man in the desert there on the desert ledge only had, it looked like, 3 bombs, so that's not going to be something we need to come back for at any point. And WeightyWords is going to probably do that fake flipper, it looks like, and he's going to go up to Zora.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable to do this at this point. Not having the Moon Pearl limits the number of checks you can do from this, because you can't go into the waterfall cave and get those checks. But it's still the hobo, and I'm not actually sure if they've got the equipment needed to splash delete to reach the Zora ledge. I'm not fully knowledgeable on that tech, but that may be possible.
Their current layout, yes, they probably can. But it's not easy, I know that much. And yeah, it looks like WeightyWords making a fool of me there, not noticing that he only had a little over 300 rupees. He's not going to Zora with 300 rupees. We're headed to Eastern, it seems like, for both of them.
Yeah, this is the density play at this point. There's 3 items in here. Minimum 2 if they continue into the palace. Although with it being a crystal and them not being able to kill the boss, there's a strong case to be made for skipping it at this point.
And back at Sasharella's hut, didn't have anything of interest here. At some point, you're gonna have to wonder, is one of these runners gonna kind of take the big gamble and do an early Aghanim play there? It's something that if you have the mirror, you feel a little bit better with. As WeightyWords finds the pearl, it's with the old man. You got to save him, and he'll give you a pearl there so that you can be okay in the Dark World.
That makes the Aghanim play a lot more appealing on its own, just because it means you can actually do something in the Dark World besides jump down to the pyramid ledge. But probably still going to see at least a Sahasrara checks from Weighty before going in that direction, if I had to guess.
Ooh.
Or Eastern's the answer.
Oh my gosh. That's so we got flips on Spectacle Rock, and we got mitts in the first chest of Eastern. So the seed is teasing us a little bit, showing that it's Aga, it's Aga, it's Aga. Actually, no, it's not. It's actually fine. You can just go and kill the moth if you want now.
Yeah. WeightyWords is grabbing. He's grabbing this Bombos medallion inside. With the mitts in Eastern Palace, if he grabs those, he could go to Ice Palace now. Oh, I guess he already had the fire rod, so Bombos isn't a thing there. It's just making sure that he doesn't have to go back for that, with Mire Turtle Rock hypothetically requiring that medallion. But yeah, Ice Palace, not in logic until we find the mirror to get those flippers, but very much on the table. And I always like seeing good early Ice Palace plays, even if they're generally a bit silly, especially in this case without the hammer.
Without the hammer, if you have the Bombos medallion, you have Fire Rod. I mean, you don't like doing it with Fighter Sword, but you could probably... Both of these runners at this level can do that Cold Stare fight without too much trouble. It looks like our green pendant is Turtle Rock today.
I wasn't even considering the relative sword deficiency there, because you're not going to go into Ice Palace expecting to find a hammer unless you've exhausted a ton of other checks first. Without the hammer, you can't even get the Cold Stare, so who cares what sword you have? The rest of the dungeon is not significantly more difficult with just Fighter Sword.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it looks like we're not going to get any sort of accidental Aga fights here, as Weighty is making his way into Eastern Palace, where he will get his mitts as well, and that'll give him, he will be the first runner with full access to Dark World, as these anti-fairies don't want to give up their chest for BigDunka on that side. Finally gets the big key out of it.
Yeah, vanilla big key in Eastern is just the worst in every single way. It's like if it were an item, he could have just save and quit there, but now he's got to walk all the way back to the big chest too. It's a little silly.
The little loops that you have to do there as Weighty picks up his mitts. BigDunka grabs a piece of heart out of the big chest there, and WeightyWords is just leaving. It looks like he's just taking the mitts and walking straight out the front door here. Not a bad play, actually.
It's definitely going to pay off for him, and it's fundamentally the same kind of gamble as getting your progression in a pendant dungeon and immediately leaving. Like, he knows he's orphaning 1, maybe 2 more items. So that's not a very high percentage play when he just got Dark World access. And he knows he can't clear the dungeon, so he has to come back regardless.
And you know what the other thing is unfortunately it looks like Meyer is a pendant here. If this was a crystal and the opening requirement for Meyer was Bombos, he could have gone in and completed the dungeon.
No,
gotta be a little careful here.
You need the hook or the boots to get past the front door of Meyer.
Yeah, you're right there. I'm just getting a little too excited there, and it turns out it was Quake to get into Misery Meyer anyway, so that's not gonna happen no matter what, as the Meyer shed just has a couple of blue things that you don't really need at this point.
Yep. Anyways, I think we did see the map check. We saw Pendant Meyer. I think the red crystal was Palace of Darkness, and yeah, the tracker is lighting that up. So shout out to our tracker man for keeping up on that and getting everything for us. So we know the crystal pendant layout for this seed. And we know that the medallion dungeons are both pendants. I'm trying to think through of what dungeon makes the most sense to skip in 6-6 with the items we have. And I am looking at Swamp Palace. Very excited right now.
Yeah, that would be fast there. To be honest, there's not really a bad option there. If you could, probably the longest dungeon out of all of those, if you could skip it, would be Pod, but the chances of being able to skip Pod are extremely, extremely low.
Well, since we already have the Fire Rod, and both Eastern and Pod are crystals, and both Swamp and Ice are crystals, and we know that the flippers are locked behind the mirror on top of Spectacle Rock, we know that there is not going to be crystal dungeon progression in GT. We can plainly see that at this point. So depending on how things actually lay out, we may have a situation where the runners have to seriously weigh that choice and decide what dungeon would be fastest to skip and what dungeons they want to go mode.
This is pretty much exactly what you were hoping for when we started this seed, is a little bit of a 6-6 action where we can actually choose which dungeons we want to go for. So I'm excited to see what these guys choose. It's not an easy decision, and doing it in a game 3 is going to give you that little bit of extra level of stress.
Yep. There are still a few item placement specifics that could make the choice easier or less easy. Like a super late mirror would basically be saying skip Swamp Palace, fake flipper to ice, maybe don't even find the mirror if it's in a silly location. Meanwhile, a super late bow would probably signal to just skip Pod. But yeah, if the bow and the mirror in particular are early enough, then we do have a strong chance of seeing that decision get to be made.
Both runners are making their way back to Mothula and deciding that they're going to try to make this their first crystal of the day. This is not the most optimal loadout for for a moth fight here. You're coming in here with Fighter Sword, a little over 8 hearts, and WeightyWords unfortunately getting a bit unlucky with those mold orms here, as one of them is guarding the curtains here. this is not going to be the most fun fight that they could possibly do.
Well, Dunka did buy potions, so he's got a lot of fire rod. WeightyWords did not, but Fighter Sword Mothula is actually one of my favorite fights in the game. It's pretty fun, and we'll see how he does with it. Although while he does so, I'd like to... Chat was pointing out something that's actually accurate. I forgot to consider the hookshot in my previous analysis of skipping dungeons. And depending on Ice Palace key layouts, hookshot could be in Ganon's tower, forcing us to just skip Swamp. I wouldn't lose any sleep over that, because I don't like Swamp Palace, but that would take away the chance at divergence and choice there.
My biggest concern with that, with hookshot in T, that leads the possibility of this turning into a hover seed, which would be kind of, that's not really what I would be looking for my final thing. Is Weighty's having a fantastic fighter sword moth fight there, and he takes him down without even making that look hard. That is an extremely difficult fight, as he pulls up his first crystal right there.
I am proud of that fight, and I'm not even the one that did it. Weighty did a great job of showing off why I do enjoy that fight, though, both as a player and a viewer. Very well done.
Dunka having a bit more difficulty there, having to pop one of his blue potions. He's going to have a full fire rod shot here. I'm expecting him to light Moth up here as soon as he gets a chance. Moth goes down there after a few shots.
And we have seen both items in Skull Woods at this point. There was a shield under the bridge, and there's a red rupee there, so the front is all keys, maps, and compasses. So that might be a bit of a sigh of relief for WeightyWords if he's still thinking about yesterday. But for all I know, he's a great runner. He's got that out of mind and is strictly focused on this one.
And we're off to go check to see exactly what is on Bumper Cave right now. Gonna see if that map cape is actually useful, and it is not. That's just a piece of heart. Neither of those runners are gonna have any interest in picking that up at this point.
Yep, so now it's going to be into the village for WeightyWords, and I'll be curious to see how he handles Thieves Town here. Because even when it's a crystal, doing just the first 4 without the hammer is a popular play. Maybe even more popular than just outright clearing it and risking orphaning the big chest from what I've seen in this tournament. But strong case to be made either way, and I would love to see how he handles that dungeon.
That's something I definitely probably ask these runners at the end of this, is their kind of philosophy when it comes to clearing Thieves Town at the end here, when you don't have the hammer, because I've seen a lot of arguments go both ways on it, because if you do end up orphaning that big chest there, it feels awful when there's an actual item in there, because you're going to check every other location in the game. Kind of just comes down to how are you feeling that day as we get a blue mail pickup there in the brewery.
Yeah, blue mail, it's great, but we're on 9 hearts, so not as great as it would have been 20 minutes ago. Pretty great either way, and we do see WeightyWords. He is entirely skipping out on Thieves Town, so that's the choice he's made here. Presumably to revisit that when he has the hammer.
I'm a little surprised by that, but not overly shocked. I don't think I've seen anybody just completely skip the beginning of Thieves Town like this at this point. But I mean, it makes sense if you find your hammer over there hiding in the hype cave or someplace like that. You can come back and just have only a single entry, as BigDunka's doing the more, I would say, the more common thing, and going directly into Thieves Town.
Yeah. So for Dunka, it'll be a choice of first 4 or going all the way through. But WeightyWords is grabbing the Smith, and actually, he's got to turn that in after he save and quit. So he's got the option to just go straight back to the Dark World and go into Thieves Town from there. And that gives him a few extra chances to find hammer before doing so. So that's a pretty reasonable play as well.
There's a reason why these guys are still in this tournament at this point. For something that might look like a bit of a questionable routing. Questionable meaning more that something that a lot of people wouldn't do. There's a reason that they do it. They are still running because they're really good at this game. They are in the top 64 brackets. Weighty got ranked number 15th, and BigDunka is number 54, and neither of these guys had lost a single match until they started playing each other. So that tells you the caliber of runners we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, even going back to the group stage, I would say that there were no mediocre runners in the top 128 even. When you cut that down to 64, the level just continues to rise. And the community in general has gotten so good at this game over the past few years as they've continued to compete and grow. So naturally, the level of the top rises right alongside that. Hype Cave was nothing, though. So WeightyWords, going back to Link's house, looks like it's going to be that shovel check for him en route to turning in the Smith.
And Dunka is making his way all the way back. He has not found a small key in any of the first couple of chests, so he's going to have the ability possibly to not need the hammer.
That would raise interesting logical concerns if there is an item, a progression item, either in this attic chest or on blind. But talk more about that if that actually comes to pass. Is WeightyWords found magic powder that he can't turn in, and there's progression. Okay, so before we say anything, let's see what's in the cell. Is it going to be the key? Is it going to be something else?
Yeah, because things are getting kind of interesting here, and WeightyWords is going to take this Smith for a bit of a swim. He's going to go dunk him in the waterfall, pull out 2 more chests really fast.
He has 520 rupees, so not by much, but he can afford King Zora. Okay, never mind.
Now he's got a lot more rupees than that, actually, so he can afford Zora and Kiki and everything else that he needs for the day.
Yep, 800 rupees will cover you, I think, for pretty much everything that's actually item check related in a seed. I haven't done the math off the top of my head, but it's pretty close if not. Okay, so map in Zelda cell. The small key is self-locked in the big chest. This means that the hammer logically locks the attic and the blind fight, because otherwise you could take that pot key that BigDunka picked up earlier, go to the big chest instead of going upstairs, and lock yourself out. That means that this bow, logically, is locked behind the hammer. Greatly reduces the odds that we see a hammer in Palace of Darkness.
It reduces the odds that the hammer is locked on the bow side of Palace of Darkness.
Or in the back, because of how keys in that dungeon work. A fair chunk of the back turns out to be locked by the bow, depending on where the small keys place.
Right. This is one of those awful situations where it might turn out that you were required a double dip for Palace of Darkness, even though the hammer is like the first chest in there.
Yeah, that would be a potential thing. And that would be a logical, but quite silly double dip.
Right.
But I think BigDunka is feeling really good about his decision to full clear Thieves Town at this point.
Definitely. And the other thing to bring up there is that V31 did introduce progressive bows. So there is a chance that that bow that he found in Thieves Town isn't actually the first bow.
Yeah, that's also true.
That opens a whole new can of worms right there. But so BigDunka's got his second crystal, and he's making his way over to do some of the checks that WeightyWords has just finished. And it looks like there's a good chance, I think, WeightyWords is going to follow him into Thieves Town and go ahead and go in there.
Yeah, and then that will raise the same question we were asking about Dunka earlier. First 4 or full clear. If he goes for full clear, he'll get that bow and his crystal, and he'll be in great shape. Otherwise, it's going to wait till he gets the hammer, and then who knows?
Wow. Earlier, we did kind of mention something that the seed hat did kind of look like it was suggesting Aghanim as the play here. One thing that I've noticed that we have not found yet is we know where the flippers are, but they are mirror locked, so we can't get them yet. We don't have the hammer, and we also haven't gotten to the east side of Hyrule yet. We could be looking at one of these awful seeds where it could be something in the pyramid that you need to go and beat Aghanim for.
Yeah, that is still on the table at this point until we find either the mirror or the hammer. And honestly, if we find the mirror, it's still on the table for... Well, no. I was going to say hammer and pyramid fairy, but Palace of Darkness is a 5/6, so that's not on the table. So, yes, until we find the mirror or the hammer, you're correct. Aghanim's still on the table. But there are a variety of tricks, fake flippers, and bomb jumps that the runners can do to get from the west side of the Dark World to the east. And I think we'll see those guys go for one of those before they go for Aghanim.
Right. Now, we say this, but the other day, I think the other day, it was either game 1 or game 2. There came a situation where BigDunka ended up doing Aghanim versus a kern jump there. It to cross the river, if I'm remembering this right. So it's kind of the reason that I'm bringing this up, as either it might be something that was forgotten at the time, or, I mean, it had to have been something that was forgotten, I believe.
Yeah. The kern jump does take a little bit of practice. It's not trivial. But if that actually was a decision that was made in a previous race involving these two runners, then yeah, definitely good to bring it up, and good because I was not aware of that. But
hey, well, now we've done all of this here. As BigDunka is going to go ahead and turn in the smiths, and WeightyWords is going to take a little bit of time to finish up Thievestown. Quick reminder to everybody in chat, if you're liking what you're seeing, make sure to give the Speed Gaming channels a follow if you haven't already done that. Also, make sure to give our runners a follow. We've got WeightyWords and BigDunka here fighting for the place in the round of 8, I believe. So
yes, round of 8. This is a round of 16 match.
Right, and these guys are 2 of the top runners, and if you're looking to learn A Link to the Past, these are 2 runners to watch. You will learn many things by watching them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who's watching without chat open or on YouTube VOD later, their streams are just twitch.tv/ and then the names you see in the boxes, WeightyWords and BigDunka. So even if you're watching this late, you can search them out, give them a follow, say hi to them, that sort of thing.
And WeightyWords doing his scripted 9-hit blind fight here, not having even the slightest issue with that. Oh, he got away a little bit there, but got the last hit and takes blind down, picks up his 10 arrows, but more importantly, picks up his second crystal.
Yeah, always feels great to be able to knock out a couple Dark World crystals early like that. Thievestown and Skull Woods are fairly quick by any measure, but still things you don't have to go back to. So, now where's Dunka off to? I think chat's already saying it, but his options at this point I think amount to basically getting that purple chest and turning it in, which is what WeightyWords is doing, or going north for a kern jump across to the Dark World. And it looks like it's the purple chest for both.
This is showing you exactly how close both of these runners are there. WeightyWords picked up that purple chest at about 37, 39. BigDunka is going to be picking up this chest at about 37, 47. So there's about 8 seconds separating these 2 runners right now.
Yeah. I don't think there's a single check that either runner has over the other at this point. At the very least, their trackers both reflect the exact same items at this juncture. Okay, chat's correcting me. WeightyWords has checked Zora, which Dunka has not. None of it was progression, though.
Right, and WeightyWords there. So to answer a quick question, we have Ultros there on BigDunka's side. From Final Fantasy VI, WeightyWords is using what's called the Vanilla Link sprite here. He's got blue mail, so he's actually just Chocolate Link right now.
Yes, vanilla in the ice cream sense, not vanilla in the unrandomized game sense. BigDunka got a ton of red rupees off that bush grab. I think he got 8 there if I counted right, in addition to the single rupee that dropped as the special 7th prize.
And both of these runners here are cleaning up some checks that the other one has done. BigDunka is going to go and check all of these fake flipper locations, and WeightyWords is going to he's going to be the first one to show us something new. I would maybe think we're looking at a possible Kern jump here, or
no, he's going to finish Eastern.
Yeah, I guess go for that last item in Eastern, or what was there a last item? I don't remember.
WeightyWords bailed after getting the mitts, so there's still 2 items in here for him.
That's right. Dunka went all the way through. WeightyWords did not. That's probably the biggest difference in our times here for each runner.
Yeah, and our tracker is confirming that Armos Knights are holding an item, so that could hypothetically be the progression.
And shout outs to our tracker there, Bandman 25. But again, this is to bring up your earlier point that bow is not in logic. So if Armos Knights is holding an item here, it's going to be just another one of those out of logic things.
Yep. It's basically, if he's holding the hammer at this point, then that means that there's a second bow available somewhere, and we open that can of worms you previously mentioned. Although I would prefer to keep that one closed until we see evidence that the bow we found is not the first one.
Yeah, like there's an excellent chance at this point that bow is our first bow, because the second bow can be literally anywhere in the game at that point. So likely it's something that we haven't seen, and it's something that's locked behind something else. Dunka's going to make his way up to Zora here. He's taking the long walk to lose 500 rupees on something useless. WeightyWords is going to make the long walk all the way around Eastern Palace here to go pick up his big key.
Okay, since chat's bringing it up again and some of them aren't sure about it, I'll run down Thieves Town key logic while these guys do checks that the others already done. So in Thieves Town, the big key was in the small chest, or the small key was in the big chest, which is locked behind the key door. And the reason that this is hammer locked is because you cannot reach the big chest without a hammer. There's those peg whack-a-mole looking things you have to knock down. So the reason that this is locked, that this logically hammer locks the attic upstairs and the blind fight, is because there is a pot key before the attic that you can pick up and you can take to the big chest. And if you do that and you do not have the hammer, you are key locked until you find the hammer. Therefore, the logic assumes that you will key lock yourself and do things silly and logically require you to have the hammer for the upstairs attic and the blind fight, because those are essentially the same thing. You cannot fight blind without bombing the attic. And the randomizer will make the hammer logically available if the small key is in the big chest.
I hope that test on this later.
Yes. I hope that everybody in chat understands that now and is now an expert on Thieves Town key logic. That's pretty much all there is to it. That and the big key has to be in the first 4 because of where the big door is. To quote chat, the logic assumes the player is a moron and plans accordingly. That is harsher terminology than I would use, but it is fundamentally accurate. Listen to that, man.
Exactly. One of the more difficult things of this game is kind of trying to understand how key logic works, because every dungeon kind of has its own different version of key logic here, and we could get into a lot of other interesting situations, but right now we're just going to stick with WeightyWords setting up pretty much a perfect Armos Knight this fight here, gets the quick kill, is rewarded with 20 rupees and his 3rd crystal. So, what do you guys want to do next?
I think we're looking literally at Aghanim or Kern Jump, your choice. Get to the East Dark World somehow. I don't think there's any checks left for these guys. Which, that does mean that both runners, as soon as Dunka finishes this fight, because I think he'll finish this fight before before WeightyWords makes another check. So I think they will be exactly on parity for at least a few seconds.
Looks like WeightyWords is going for that current jump there. He's fluting to 3, so that's something that's pretty much going to be your setup here. He's going to have to take a long walk over to the river there so that he can use a bomb and try to jump it here, as BigDunka picks up his 3rd crystal as well. Yeah, this is the fun of the current jump, is especially when you don't have boots. It is a long, slow walk, and without mirror or anything else, you're not really getting to check anything else here. BigDunka is fake flippering
Ice Palace.
Yeah, I
think at this point he's just gambling on
Palace.
No mirror showing up. Or at least mirror being in a really silly location, and he'll just skip Swamp Palace as his dungeon. I think he is hoping to find a hammer in there to commit to that. And if this works out, then absolute power to him. That will put him in a great spot, as I think you were about to say.
This is a huge play on BigDunka's side, and I'm again, to bring this back, I'm having flashbacks right now of I believe game 1, where Dunka did a pretty similar thing. WeightyWords is not hitting this curtain jump. He's not in the right pixel there. You have to be, he is too high. He's going to miss this one again. Oh,
he got it. He adjusted and got it.
Okay. I've never seen someone actually hit it there with that pixel. But all right. This is why WeightyWords is better than, all of us.
Yeah, it did take him 7 bombs to get that, though. He started with 8. He's only got 1 left, showing that is certainly not a trivial trick.
Okay, I'm being told by some other runners who are also very good in chat that it's actually not as precise. I had always heard that you could do it from the very first 1 pixel up from that ledge there, but apparently that's not the case.
Well, we learn something new every day, and shout out to the guy in chat who said that Ninban is actually one of 2 runners so far qualified for the round of 8 in this tournament. So, very good runner, and another guy to check out and learn from after this race.
Dunka having a little bit of trouble here with the Ice Palace bomb jump.
It looked like, well, he got it there. Looked like he was trying to set it up with his sword position, which almost every time you come to this dungeon, whether it's in vanilla or even in rando, you will have a sword better than Fighter Sword. Fighter Sword is actually a pixel smaller than other swords, so sword-based lineups for things like this need a little bit of adjusting. But Dunka was able to get it. Catfish and Pyramid Ledge, both a bust as far as progression goes. We're down to Palace of Darkness for the logic here.
Yeah, but WeightyWords at least getting that 10 bomb refill there so that he could, get a little bit of a rebate on the bombs that he had to use for the current jump. And BigDunka's side looks like Ice Palace is not hookshot locked as he picks up a key there in that second chest. He's going to be able to come check this one kind of spike room chest here real fast.
Let us not rule out the hookshot lock until we've seen the iced tea chest, because there can still be a big key in that chest, and that would hookshot lock us. But one small key with no big key in the Pengator, Freezor, and Ice Tea chests is how you get no hookshot lock.
I'm just gonna take your word for it.
Yeah. Somebody wrote that up in the main link to the Past Randomizer Discord and very helpfully pinned it, so it's not that hard to find. And very easy to refer to in cases like this.
Sounds good there. So if anybody is trying to learn that, definitely listen to my co-commentator Red here tonight, and because he very much knows these a lot of this key layout here quite well. As BigDunka is going to give us his last check here in Ice Palace, and just gets the map. So that is not your answer, unfortunately.
That does confirm that the right side of Ice Palace is not hookshot locked. However, I think it confirms that the boss... No, never mind. There's no hookshot lock there. I'm silly.
And this is what I was talking about earlier. BigDunka is, again, choosing to kind of repeat from, it looks like, from earlier, from game 1, where he's choosing to go up and kill Aghanim, it looks like.
Yeah, I feel bad about this as a viewer, just because it's several minutes that WeightyWords saved by current jumping. As WeightyWords finds the third shield, that is not progression. And with Dunka's current equipment and magic totals, he is doing one of the slowest imaginable towers too, just from that perspective. Everything about this, I feel for the man having to do this just to get to the East Dark World.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I watched him do this in game 1, and I'm still kind of surprised that he's doing it again here now in game 3, fighting for his life. But yeah, he's gonna have to. In his case, this is one time where you're really kind of hoping for Dunka that something like it's hammer in the Pyramid Fairy, but it can't be, because Pod is one of our Pyramid Fairy crystals.
Yep. I guess the best case for Dunka at this point would just be hammer directly in the Palace of Darkness. But even then, that would be a great find for Weighty as well. Actually, for Weighty, if he found that hammer would be go mode. Well, no, that hammer would not be go mode. We don't have a way to get to Tower of Hera. We need a mirror or a hookshot for that. I didn't even think about that until now.
Oh man, this seed is just taking us in lots of interesting directions right now. Yeah, Lumberjack Cave is not the answer either for those asking, because Lumberjack Cave is just a couple of arrows. Right now, we're just, this is a 6-6 seed that has got the runners just kind of running around in a circle there, trying to figure out what to do. And we got the mirror finally in the Pod there, just sitting there in the back.
Okay, so the good news on that mirror is that hammer is unconditionally go mode for these guys. They can skip the hook shot. They don't really even need to go grab those flippers. Just skip Swamp Palace fake flipper to ice, as Dunka already did. But man, that puts the hammer in a mirror spot, I believe. Whether that mirror spot is one of the overworld ones, Tower of Hera, first chest Swamp Palace. Could be in desert as well, even.
It could be in many different places right now. This is going to come down to, hey, did you guess right? Unfortunately, it kind of looks like.
Yeah. And chat keeps bringing up sword. Technically speaking, yes, still need a second sword, but these runners will play to find one along the way if that's literally the only thing they need to beat the game.
One thing to kind of bring up though, with the sword being not found, I wonder if Dunka's going to start having flashbacks to Game 2, where he completed Cannon's Tower, knowing that there was a sword on the Lumberjack ledge. So he was going to go immediately up there and then had to run around and find a second sword somewhere in Hyrule there. He ended up winning that game, but that was not a pleasant experience on there. There's a clip of him freaking out when he realizes that he didn't actually have the cape at one point, as he takes down the wizard.
Yeah, so now he'll have to go to Pod, find his mirror, and bail because he can't kill Aghanim, or he can't kill Helmasaur without the hammer, excuse me. WeightyWords does grab his flippers, so no just in case there, but I'd still be surprised to see the Swamp Palace get entered in this game, unless the hammer happens to be in there. There's only one chest it can be, so that's super low % odds. And I guess theoretically, actually, I keep overlooking, there is like a bonk bomb jump sort of trick you can use to get past Moldorm 2 without the hook shot. I have no idea if either runner can do it, actually. So if they can't do that, then we need hook shot as well.
Moldorm bounce that you're talking about is one of the most inconsistent tricks out there. Like, you can do it, but oh my god, actually pulling it off in a race like this would just be honestly epic. I think I would just lose my mind and start shouting. It would be crazy there.
It's just, I have no idea how practiced either runner is with it, if they've practiced with it at all, but it's something to potentially keep in mind if either runner is to enter Ganon's Tower without the hook shot. Until then, let's not look at it.
Right now, WeightyWords is going to go ahead and have a pretty uncomfortable fight here with Moldorm, as he's got to use just Fighter Sword. Gets the first 5 hits, and now Moldorm is in his enraged phase. Made that look extremely easy, and is going to find out that we've got a map there. So it looks like both items have been picked up there in Tower of Hera, and neither of them were of much interest.
Yeah, I think they were, if I saw correctly, I think it was like cash and arrows or something. But regardless, WeightyWords was under-equipped for that fight by vanilla standards. Like, vanilla, you've at least got the boots that you can dash through and score hits that way, but he didn't even have that, so he got a very favorable pattern to make that fight go super well. So,
right now, where do you want to go if you're WeightyWords here? You've got the mirror, which at this point really only opens, what, 3 locations for them?
Yep. With Hera already off the board, we're looking at Graveyard Ledge, which it's looking like is the play here for him. We're looking at the cave south of the Grove, the so-called Cave 45. And we're looking at that one chest in Swamp Palace. And I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh, and chat's mentioning that Magic Bat and Desert are also open.
It's one of those things. So, the moment I said three things were available, I immediately went, oh wait, yeah, there's that entire other dungeon down there that we could also complete. But yeah, we're there's a few things left, but man, it's not. There's also, yeah, somebody's bringing up. You could have one of those nasty situations where you have to mirror around the peg there to go check Magic Bat. It is, yeah, not a whole lot of fun checks here.
Okay, so Dunka's got to do a 12 heart death warp here. The good news is that spike is fixed 1 damage regardless of mail, but that ain't fun. But yeah. The big thing here, Desert Palace is a pendant dungeon. Pendant dungeons aren't fun. Swamp Palace is a crystal dungeon, but it's Swamp Palace, which means it's also not fun. And WeightyWords is walking back Yeah, he's walking back to the village. I'm going to guess that this is the magic bat check for him because that will lose his portal. But he can, I guess, actually without the hammer, he can't save and quit to Link's house, so he'll walk back to his other portal.
This is possibly the worst time to get a late mirror when you don't have boots and you're still looking for hammer, because you've got to walk everywhere. You don't get to run, you don't get to travel quickly in any sort of way. You just kind of have to take it. And this whole time you're going to be sitting there thinking in your head, oh my god, where is my opponent? Like, have they somehow gotten ahead of this point? Like, did they do an early Aga play? Did they do something else? And actually, like, where is everybody else?
Yeah, and in a big race, that mentality is one thing, but in a small race, especially a 1v1 like this, that can really wear on some runners that like to base decisions on what they think their opponent will do. And especially as you get higher up to higher quality runners, that becomes a more common thing.
Right, and that magic bat did not pay off for anything here, and WeightyWords is making his way back up to that portal here, north of Kakariko, and
it's
he's
the
gonna
only
be
portal
starting.
he's got.
Yeah, and he's gonna start moving down to probably Cave 45, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him check that first one in Swamp as well, just because at this point you're not gonna leave it behind. You've checked everything else.
Yeah, if you're walking down to Cave 45 at this point, the walk to Swamp is not that much further, and it sure beats going to Checkerboard Cave in Desert, not finding your hammer there, and having to do the really long walk back. And Dunka's taking his mirror up to Tower of Hera, so looks like he's just following in WeightyWords' footsteps still, behind by about the length of the Aga play, it feels like. I haven't hard counted it out though. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. There it is, Cave 45. That's where we found our hammer. So, and if we are right, that puts WeightyWords in go mode at about an hour. Well, not go mode, but sword mode.
Yeah. Yeah, sword mode, assuming he doesn't need the hook shot for anything. Although it's looking like he's going to the mountain instead of Pod or Ice Palace and getting those crystals, so I would say WeightyWords probably really wants a hook shot.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing, because with this being a 6-6 match here, 6-6 kind of means that you would... It's kind of a mode that a lot of people would pick if they're comfortable hovering or comfortable with doing mimic clips or something like that. This maybe might say that WeightyWords is not comfortable doing something like that.
Yeah. Like, basically, at this point, he's got the entirety of Ice Palace open to him. So at the very least, if he was comfortable with that, I would assume that he would go there and just get his crystals, and then maybe check these on the way to Ganon's Tower instead of doing that later. But I don't know. I don't know what's going through his head. I just know he's better at this game than I am, so there's a method to the madness, I assure you.
And then the other thing that chat is bringing up, hovering does require boots. Forgive me, it's early for me. He's got to find something.
Hookshot would be the easiest find here for sure. That would wrap everything up really nicely. Well, Dunka's in the Moldworm fight. I think he's 4 hits in. You see, he's just going for pokes here. Clearly wasn't 4 hits. There we go. But with Fighter Sword, pokes do the same damage as slashes, and they're actually probably the safest thing you can do against Moldworm there.
Right, and we're now tied back up on crystals as WeightyWords is making his way through a very empty Super Bunny cave right now, and probably from here, this is going to be a quick look into looks like Spiral Cave followed by Paradox Cave here. So there's a lot of items coming up ahead. Hopefully we find something that can get us moving.
Yeah, 8 chances at items here. You want to see sword or hookshot if you're a WeightyWords fan here. If you're a Dunka fan, you just want him to get to K45 as soon as possible so he can get that hammer and then make magic happen from there.
Looks like Dunka is choosing that he's gonna start with Checkerboard Cave and maybe take a quick look into this as well, likely here.
From a density,
comes up with just a heart container.
Checkerboard Cave with a single arrow, but Desert, from Dunka's perspective right now, with Hera already cleared, is the density play. Because it's guaranteed Checkerboard Cave, and somewhere between 0 and 2 items in Desert, depending on how keys and such lay out.
The first 2 items, Paradox Cave, were just a piece of heart and a heart container as well. So WeightyWords is up to 15 hearts with red mail right now. So not likely to be dying anytime soon. Shot.
That's it. WeightyWords is still opening this chest. Does still need a sword, but aside from that sword, okay, WeightyWords is in go mode.
Okay. Well, Paradox Cave, that's where all of our items were today. At 1 hour and 5 minutes and a little bit of change, WeightyWords has entered go mode.
Yep. And he's actually got a choice. Does he want to finish Pod? Does he want to go mode Swamp? Does he want to go mode Ice? Just got to pick 2 of those. Pod, he's already done everything except Helmasaur, so that's going to be his first choice.
Yeah, he's got 4 crystals right now, so which one would you rather do? Would you rather do an Ice Palace dip, or would you rather do a Swamp Palace dip in this case?
If I recall correctly, they are comparably fast. Like, one's not massively worse than the other. I couldn't tell you which one's faster. Chat's saying both, so I don't know.
No.
I would choose Ice Palace because I don't like Swamp. I'm biased.
You know, Swamp is easier. Swamp is easier, but you have to factor in the mirror times and everything else that kind of comes in with this. Now, Dunka, unfortunately, is choosing wrong here, and he's going up to Graveyard Ledge first. But you know, it's it's kind of a shame for him.
Yeah, and he's basically following WeightyWords. Like, there has been a little bit of divergence this seed on a micro scale, but as far as the big picture goes, there has been very little divergence this seed. It just felt like it's just been one runner following the other, and as we got towards the end game, it's been Dunka following WeightyWords due to the time lost to Aghanim instead of Kern jumping.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. Is biggest question I'm gonna want to ask BigDunka here in the interview portion is if he is something that he's not comfortable doing, or if he's trying to stay on logic in particular there. Yeah.
The big thing about killing Aghanim to just stay on logic is that Aghanim itself is 0 checks. All it does is let you reach a part of the world that has checks in it. Kern jumping accomplishes exactly the same thing, so I would consider those equivalent, unless you just massively value that portal at the castle.
WeightyWords is going to make his way right back into the Helmasaur fight. He's got 17 shots with a hammer here, and then he's going to have to follow up with whatever method he wants to hit the jewel on Helmasaur's face here. showing off a pretty consistent, more or less NMG strat for this here. Pulls out his sword and he's going to use hammer strats, it looks like.
Took a hit, lost his sword, so got a couple slashes in until he found the chance to pull that back out. But relatively clean overall, only took a couple hits there. And that's 5 crystals. And yeah, Dunka has walked his way back around to the magic bat. He's going to lose his portal after doing this and have to go back up north of the village to re-get it. And while he will get his hammer 1 check after the bat, making his way down to K45, it feels bad just watching him basically rerun Weighty's route a few minutes later.
Yeah, and unfortunately he is hard last locating that hammer too, which is, at this point, I think he's gonna, in the back of his mind, he's probably gonna realize that mistakes have been made here.
Yeah. Although I would like to say that ultimately, aside from needing to spend the extra time on Aghanim, he's done a very good job this race. His play has been clean and on point. It's just, the Aghanim tower climb is what, about 4.5 to 5 minutes?
Right.
And I think WeightyWords entered go mode about 4 minutes ago. So that Aghanim tower climb is almost the entirety of the difference at this point. Not 100% of it, but definitely very close.
Dunka also did take that fairly substantial gamble of coming into Ice Palace early without the hammer and such. Between that and the Aga play, that's probably one of the biggest differences between these two runners, because other than that, yeah, execution wise they've been pretty equal.
Yeah, and definitely been good runs across the board here from both runners. As BigDunka picks up his hammer, we do see WeightyWords grab Ice Palace as his 6th crystal. Not done with it yet, has not actually grabbed it yet, but has chosen it. And a good chunk of the way through the dungeon. Just gonna bomb jump here and then a couple rooms away.
And Dunka is again following WeightyWords' route there. He's going to go up to East Dark World here. He'll get all of the goodies out of Paradox Cave, which will throw him into go mode as well. Unfortunately, he will be 2 crystals behind WeightyWords at that point. So,
yeah, it's 2 fairly
a bit of a road to make up.
Yeah, it is 2 quick crystals. He's already done pretty much everything in pod. So, and he's actually done a fair bit of ice as well, but unfortunately what he's already done in ice doesn't save any time, because go mode Ice Palace opens a grand total of 0 chests. But not the slowest set of crystals, not really the end of the world, just a bit more of a gap than you would reasonably expect to be able to be made up at this level of play.
Right. As we move into our Cold Stare fight here, WeightyWords is choosing to break the shell open with Bombo's medallion here. He's going to spin Cold Stare into the corner probably here, gets him in there, and then starts just going at him with the fire rod here, taking off a lot of hits, knocking them pretty quickly there. One little puff left. Him down without any problem there. Very nice Master Sword fight.
Yeah, definitely well done. I'm actually surprised. I think only one of those fire rod hits actually got more than one of the puffs, which really surprises me. But the fire rod does a lot of really silly things with its projectile. We've got a whole glitch around that in Misery Mire that we're not going to be seeing today. So Feels a little bad for WeightyWords there. It could have been even better, but even without that, pretty good.
All right, and since this is a 6/6 seed, that is our 6th crystal, which means WeightyWords is on his way up to Ganon's Tower right now. And as you can see in the chat there, get your numbers in for the GT Big Key guessing game. Choose a number between 1 and 22 where you think that big key is going to be today. Greg, what do you think there? What's your choice for numbers?
The number choice is usually 10, just lucky number personally. Normal routing puts that in the rando room as BigDunka enters go mode at 1:13:50. That's what, is that about 7 minutes behind if I remember right? Or am I off a bit?
Sounds right. I'm not 100% sure here.
I can't remember what time Weighty actually got up to Paradox Cave and go moded. But anyways, 10 is my usual choice for the big key game. What do you got for us as WeightyWords makes the run across?
I'm gonna go with a nice, I think I'm gonna go with a nice 15 today. See what we get out of that. As WeightyWords casually waits for the Lionel to just kind of move out of his way and is now opening up GT with his 6 crystals.
Yeah, it's worth noting, Master Sword slashes do not hurt Lionel's. It's a lot obnoxious, so all he really could do there was hook shot, iframes, and wait for it to move out of the way like he did. BigDunka is actually choosing Swamp Palace as one of his crystals. So we do get that choice in the matter, although I'm not sure that even Go Mode Swamp is faster than Pod when you're walking in with the big key. I'd be curious about Dunka's thoughts on that, actually.
One thing to bring up yet, that this is just not a settled match yet here, because WeightyWords is still on Master Sword. Never mind.
Yeah, that was
WeightyWords
a big find for
Tempered Sword now, so that makes his Ganon fight a significantly easier. I did not know I had that power.
Yeah. Are you gonna give him the silver arrows next?
WeightyWords still does not have the silver arrows over in the right side of GT basement. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, we'll see.
If it works,
the silver
I'm
arrows
going to go buy a lottery ticket right now. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Silver arrows would be another nice time save there. Although with the tempered sword, they're not nearly as big of one as if Weighty were to never find that sword.
All right, we're going to try it again. And WeightyWords is about to pick up the silvers in the compass room of GT.
What you got to do is you got to say he doesn't have them.
Right,
not that
yeah,
he's about to pick them up.
I messed that up. I totally messed that up. That's a shame.
Sorry,
Weighty.
Anyways, we've seen, what is that, 11 checks so far with no big key. 4 in the Stalfos room, 4 in the compass room, the torch, and 2 in the hope room. So next checks will be the isolate, well, I say isolated, that's not really the right word, but the single checks of the fire bar room here, and then the fire snake room afterwards. And BigDunka has made his way to Argus, pulling and slashing puffs. Not the greatest fight in the world with the Master Sword, but definitely doable. And its intended strats regardless.
Our Fire Snake room has just 5 rupees, so we're on to the Rando room, so named because if you're playing the vanilla game, you're not going to go into this as BigDunka is picking up 300 from Argus there, and looks like that's his 5th crystal as well.
Yep, we'll see what he chooses for the 6th. Is WeightyWords continuing to find nothing of use. Rando room about as useful there as it is in vanilla. So I'm trying to count through, because I counted it out earlier, then I quit paying attention to the numbers and lost count again. How many checks in are we through here?
I'm pretty sure we're at 19, 20, oh no, 18, 19, 20, 21 coming up in these out of these next 4, followed by a possible tile room.
Okay, yeah, that lines up.
Now, if this is in tile room, I mean, BigDunka has a chance to make up a little bit of a time if he pulls the absolute galaxy brain play of saying, you know what, I'm really behind. Let's pull the tile room gamble and see what happens.
Yeah, to quote somebody I know that will remain unnamed, that play tends to be all galaxy, no brain, as WeightyWords picks up the big key. And the gold sword.
The big key there was at number 19, it looked like there. Is that right?
Yeah, because you would have had 2 chests in the back for 20 and 21, and then the tile room for 22.
So you get your big key out of chest 19, and then you get your gold sword out of chest out of chest 20 there. Yeah, you're feeling pretty good about the rest of this climb for sure.
Yep. WeightyWords picking up the arrows out of that pot because he had exactly enough for the mimics without that. So, wooden arrows, they occasionally see use in the gauntlet that's coming up, but with the gold sword, I would rather just use that.
All right, now it's time for everybody's favorite time here is watching these runners just blister through the gauntlet here. See if we can get a nice clean one, because this is where the execution really comes into play. Stealth not being nice though.
Not being nice, but I would like to hope that everybody here has seen worse than that. It wasn't terrible by any means. And then just one-shotting all these enemies. That Salthos is mean, but Weighty adapts real nicely to clean that up.
He's off to land mode 2 right now. Second here, because once you enter that first room right there, that spawns the landmos, and so you can get a quick gold sword spin just like that.
That was
a nice triple kill on land mode 2. That was excellent.
I think that's the second time I've ever seen that pulled off properly, and it is beautiful. I don't think it's faster than silver arrows, but it is faster to kill those things than pretty much anything else. And like you said, waiting in the room before that a little bit will delay, or will wait out the delay of the spawns, which means that they will all spawn and come out of the ground at the same time, letting you do that. And it is great.
Right, and BigDunka has picked up his 6th crystal, and he's now on his way up to GT as well. He's going to need something pretty substantial here from WeightyWords to kind of get back in this race, unfortunately.
Yeah. So while Weighty cleans out the top of Ganon's tower, just to recap for chat real quick, the story of this race was a lot of early items, but no way to get to the East Dark World. And that resulted in WeightyWords doing a bomb jump to get from west to east in the Dark World, BigDunka resorting to Aghanim instead to do that. And that let them get the mirror, which blocked both the flippers and the hammer. And that let them get to the east side of the mountain, where they picked up their go mode. But the Aghanim kill, an Ice Palace scamble on Dunka's side that did not pay out with fake flippers. And that just lost him a bit of time that he was not able to make up in other ways.
And WeightyWords is making his way over to Aga 2. We're going to play a little bit of geometry with them. See if he can get some patterns there that aren't too ugly, but as soon as I say that.
Ooh, that nice. Was well done.
Yeah, that's an excellent double off of that.
That could have been a triple, but the blue ball denies it. And as a reminder, in this fight, only Aghanim's main body can shoot the blue ball attacks. The two clones will always be the normal fireballs you can reflect. So that makes a real easy fight for Weighty there. Gets the 3 cycle, which is about the best you can realistically ask for.
That was a fantastic, a triple double on, especially with a couple of those, with that first pattern there. That shows you just exactly why WeightyWords is so well thought of in the community.
Yep. Dunka found the book.
And we are into the Ganon fight here, looks like. Gold Sword Ganon fight. This will not take too long.
Okay, WeightyWords, you're bullying him. Stop. It only takes 6 hits. You got a few extras in there.
I mean, to be fair, anytime that you have to kern jump the game, you're gonna have a little bit of additional anger towards Ganon. It's fun to just beat on him a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun, but you get to beat on the pig every seed. So start feeling bad for him at some point, right? Just me?
Just you, I think. And it turns out that our arrows were in Ice Palace, so they must have been locked on that right side.
Okay, so that confirms 2 hammer-locked bows this seed, actually. Pretty interesting piece of logic there, but ultimately doesn't matter very much. We did see Weighty just has to get a few spins in here. He did get the torch glitch, which for less experienced players who may not know, if you light the left torch in this fight before the right one goes out, the right one just never goes out. So you only ever have to worry about keeping the left one lit. And it makes it a lot easier to get these spins.
And there you go. Down goes Ganon there. WeightyWords, all he has to do is just cross this one little last bridge, and he will come in first place in this tournament and in this race and be moving on to the round of 8. As he comes in first place with an SRL time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 19 seconds. Get your GGs in chat.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately, I do have to announce WeightyWords will not be joining us for an interview, but GGs and congratulations to him on advancing to the top 8. His opponent in the top 8 will be the winner between Doomtap and Bonta, whose series is in progress. I believe the game 3 of that will be tomorrow morning. I haven't checked though.
All right, and over on BigDunka's side, he's going to be making his way up the rest of GT Tower here. BigDunka has had an excellent tournament run so far. He just basically ran into somebody who also is playing as well as he possibly can. Both of these guys hadn't lost a match until they had played each other, and at some point, the fun thing with tournaments is that something's got to give. So definitely GG's to Dunka here as well. It's really great run for him.
Yeah, both this run today, even if he got randoed in a couple different ways, and really the tournament as a whole, Dunka had a fantastic run through it. No doubt about it. It's just, in a setting like this, not everybody can win, unfortunately. And it turns out Weighty got the better of this series.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dunka maybe spend a little bit of time here figuring out easier ways to get around the Aghanim kill here in the future. He's got more than enough execution skill to pull off everything else. It's kind of unfortunate that it's a repeat of game 1 for him, where he is more or less getting knocked out by an awkward item placement.
Yeah, because like you said, game 1 in a large part came down to Dunka having to do Aghanim. Well, WeightyWords was able to kern jump and skip it, and then this game had the exact same thing happen. But I really do think that it shows the kern jump is a recent discovery, and it shows how high the level of this community has risen from bottom to top, that so many runners are capable of that not that long after it was discovered. So it's unfortunate that Dunka wasn't able to get good mastery of it, and you could point to that and say cost him. But the fact that he was able to keep up and make top 16 in this tournament, even without that trick in his arsenal, shows how good he really is.
Definitely, and it's kind of funny if you really think about it. I want to say the kern jump is something that happened. I remember it becoming a big thing when the ALTTPR league was announced last year. That was about the time that was discovered, and in that time, in the past year, I can think of at least 3 major tricks that have been found here. I want to say we've found the
Dunka doesn't have enough arrows.
Yeah, he's
got to go
problem
solved.
Oh, nice and easy there.
Yeah. Anyways, you were talking about the recent tricks.
I want to say Spooky Glitch was one of the more recent discoveries there. Harapot was in the last 3 months, I want to say, as well. And I want to say like Mimic Clips were something for even a little bit, weren't that much longer before that. There's been It's kind of crazy that in a 29-year-old game, we're still finding new things like that to be able to do.
Yeah. Actually, I think the most recent trick that was... I can't remember if this was more or less recent than Harapot, and it's incredibly minor by any standards regardless. But the ability to turn in the purple chest after dropping it by using the mirror. That was also a recent discovery, and that somehow didn't come up for 30 years before this. But yeah, still evolving games, still evolving tech. Everybody's getting better every day.
And there's another one that we're forgetting. The splash deletion glitches as well. I mean, in the past year, we were finding so many new things in here, and splash deletion is insane because you've got, I want to say, maybe 6 or 7 different possible ways to be able to do that.
Yeah, like I think there are a lot of various different item combinations, basically involving your red items. The red boomerang, the red cane, I think the fire rod gets some play there. And then the bow and bombs. Various combinations of those can just absolutely wreak havoc on things.
Yeah, it's basically anything that can make enough sprites on the screen. Ice Rod is another one of those things that you can actually use for it. There are so many different ways to be able to do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you've just, with so many different ways to do it, you've got to know what the setups are. Like, I think it even came up earlier this race. We were talking about potential splash deletions to Zora Ledge, and I didn't know whether it could be executed with the items the runners had at the time. So, just goes to show my knowledge is incomplete, obviously, but the completeness of the runner's knowledge, while you would generally assume it to be better than mine, especially at this level, is not always perfect. But that's part of the learning experience, part of getting better at the game.
And Dunka is making his way up to the top here. Now, I mean, at this point, BigDunka would know the outcome of the race here, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually kind of curious to see if he'll open any of these two top chests looking for something, but now he's got Gold Sword. He's just going to go and finish out the pig and finish out his tournament, it looks like.
Yeah, good runners with Gold Sword, especially, even with Tempered Sword, don't really need much of anything else to fight games.
Over there on WeightyWords side there, a 126 collection rate here. That is, considering some of the fun that the seed put them through to get over to the east side of the Dark World, that's fairly low.
Yeah, and consider he had the check. He checked like 21 checks in Ganon's Tower as well. So with a friendly big key placement, that could have easily been sub 110. And that's absolutely ridiculous for Rando.
Definitely. And BigDunka is making his way. Let's see how he does with this first pattern. Gets a 0 off of it there. Gets bodied by one of those energy beams.
Yeah,
it's a single.
Taking a hit there loses your sword charge, and then you don't have time to recover.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy fight. It's a deceptively difficult fight, and it's especially really hard to do quickly. One thing that helps me to do it is I like to try to hold my sword towards Aghanim if I'm going to be doing spins, because it gives me an easy chance to just mash the sword button and occasionally get that third shot there quickly without getting hit by it. And we're off to Ganon.
Yeah. Yep. With the Gold Sword, the first two phases are simply 6 hits each, so very easy to get the one cycle on both. And then the Warp phase and Silverless is what, 12 slashes or spins, right, with Gold? And Tempered is the same number of spins?
Yeah, it'd just be 12. It's 12 spins there to get through the other things there.
Alright. So, not an exceptionally long fight ahead of Dunka here. And yeah, he's already out of the second phase as soon as these fire bats are finished flying. Also, we didn't call it out when WeightyWords was fighting, but these warps are friendly too. So, I guess at the end, not quite so much.
I think Ganon wants to go home too.
I don't blame him at this point. His only purpose in this game is to be defeated. Literally does nothing else. And unlike Aga, he doesn't even get to live sometimes.
Go ahead, bud.
No, I'd said my piece.
I was just thinking we got a little Wreck-It Ralph situation here where he's just like, oh no, I've lost again. All right, fine. Can I just go back to sleep?
Yeah, I think that about sums up how Ganon feels about the randomizer. Well, just a couple more spins for Dunka here, I think. I haven't been keeping good count. Gets a stun there. That's unfortunate. It means it'll just take a little bit longer. And there it is. So all Dunka's got to do now is cross the bridge.
right, get your GGs in chat for BigDunka here as he closes out his tournament. Again, well done on his side.
Yep. And that is BigDunka finishing with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 12 seconds. So we'll see if we can get him in here. And yes, we are joined by BigDunka. GG. Little unfortunate that seed didn't go your way, but
oh, much appreciated.
That happens.
GG's, everybody. I should really learn how to kern jump well.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the big takeaway from this seed, just watching it that critically, because other than that, like the Ice Palace dip that you tried didn't turn out your way, and I think I saw you say in IRC you tried that because you knew he could kern jump and you couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, at that point when I saw that it was AGA required for logic, I kind of had to take a jump. I mean, I've kern jumped before. With that being said, I could probably do AGA faster than it might take to successfully kern jump. So, yeah, I've ran out of bombs doing it before. But yeah, at that point I was kind of like, I just got to take a chance because it's the only way this is going to work out. And maybe Hammer was sitting in Ice Palace and that would have changed everything. But yeah, it was over at that point.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's unfortunate. Obviously, with Rando, it happens. Nothing to do but keep improving your game, but I want to ask, unfortunately, this does bring an end to your tournament. Are you satisfied with your run?
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I lost 2 games the entire tournament. Or, I'm sorry, 4 games the entire tournament, and they were all to WeightyWords. So, I'm okay with that. You know, it is what it is. We had 6 matches together because we met in groups as well, so I'm okay with it. A little disappointed that we got 2 seeds in brackets that were practically identical.
This was unfortunately a bit of a carbon copy to your game 1 there, where you ended up having to have something locked over on the right side of the Dark World. But all in all there, your play has been, you know, solid throughout, I would say. So, I mean, getting this far into the tournament is nothing to be ashamed of by any means.
Yeah, I'm good with it. You know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this one, but there's a little bit of a disappointment there, but yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's understandable. Losing is never as fun as winning. Can still be fun, but oh well. That's life.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm all good with it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of things.
There's not really much to say on this one. I mean, this was as linear as it could be.
Yeah, and I didn't want to really drag game 2 back out in case that was one you wanted to better forget.
No, game 2 was fine. Game 1 is the one that I had. Well, game 1 was a little bit of an exception. I was not having a good day that day, and I was on no sleep, and it was kind of a mess. Game 2, I won.
Yeah, game 2 you did win, but I was when we saw you go like escape after Kakariko, I was like, hey, look at game 2. That was
just a 30-minute plan that was perfect until you realize that you don't have an item that you think you have.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't. I only got to see about half of that one casually, so I didn't want to drag it back out. Partly for you, partly for me, because I didn't have the fullest picture of it. But regardless, if you had fun with it, and then that's really all I can ask for.
Yeah, it's all good. So, and everybody gets to watch another match. So,
yep. I am glad that this series did go to 3, though. Good series. Just would like to see more of you in this tournament, but
yeah, both this and the groups went really well. I mean, they were really good matches. I have nothing but the best to say for Weighty. I know that he couldn't join us; he had plans tonight. So, yeah, no, he'll be a really, really tough out. So, we had a lot of fun with these, and yeah, again, I won't complain about any of it.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, I do think it's a bit short, but I've covered everything I really wanted to ask about this seed already. Daysclad, do you have anything in particular to add or ask?
No, not particularly. Just GG's to Dunka. It's been a pleasure watching you go through this tournament, and I think I've calmed more than a couple of your races so far. So, just GG's, and hope to see you soon in a couple of other places.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And again, thanks everybody for all the effort that goes into this. I know it's a lot of work, and everyone's done a really good job with this one. So thank you, much appreciated. And we'll just watch from the peanut gallery, watch the rest of the matches.
Right, and with that, I guess it's time for us to be wrapping up here. Now, for all of you people who are still looking for more randomizer, we've got another race coming up right on the tail end of this one here, starting in about 15 minutes. We've got a replay of game 1 between Dwayne and Jet082. For those of you who had not seen that their game 1 ended in a tie where both of them finished within 2 seconds of each other. So if you're wanting to see a little bit more rando, do not change that. Do not change the station here, because that is going to be an absolutely amazing race to watch as well. My name was Dazed Cloud again, and if you would, please do give these runners a follow. Also, big shout outs to our tracker Bandman25 there for clicking the buttons behind the scene and helping us keep everything together. Also, massive shout outs and thank yous to my co-commentator Reg there, who kept me in line there a little bit, and when I was getting a little bit excited and making a couple of mistakes as well. But thank you for watching, and I'm going to give you, Reg, the full floor here. Have a great night, everyone.
Yep, it's been a blast. We got to see a great race. Stay tuned for what's sure to be another great one. And we'll all see you guys over some other race. Later.